Sometimes the most important conversations happen in silence, when the machines beep, the walls breathe, and the clock forgets how to move. Have you ever thought about what you would say if you knew time was running out? Not in a dramatic, movie-ending kind of way, but in a quiet hospital room, with the scent of antiseptic and old memories hanging in the air. What would you say to the person who once meant everything to you, and who now sits beside your bed, a stranger in a familiar body? This isn't a story about dying. It's about what refuses to die. The words we never said, the letters we never sent, the hands we never reached for when we still had time. It takes place in a small-town hospital in Maine, where the snow keeps secrets and the windows don't open, as if the building knows how fragile everything is inside. And it begins with a voicemail, left too late. The hospital room is small, quiet, except for the pulse of the heart monitor and the slow hum of fluorescent lights. Room 206. The nameplate reads, Joseph M. Walker, 81 years old, retired mechanic, Vietnam veteran, no visitors in 3 years, until today. Through the glass door, we see her hesitate before entering. A woman in her late 40s, coat still dusted with snow, clutching a bag like it's armor. Her name is Rachel, Joseph's daughter. They haven't spoken since her wedding day, not because of anything loud or dramatic, but because of all the things they never said. Joseph lies still, eyes half closed. He's conscious but distant, like a lighthouse with a fading bulb. His skin is pale, lined with time, his hands curled gently, as if holding onto something invisible. Rachel doesn't speak right away. She just sits. The chair creaks beneath her like it's been waiting. And for a long moment, that's all there is. Two people, years apart, sharing the same air for the first time in forever. The nurse, Miriam, walks in briefly. Middle-aged, kind eyes, gentle presence. She checks the IV without interrupting. Rachel forces a smile. Miriam lowers her voice. He's more awake than he lets on. He just listens more than he speaks now. Rachel nods. It's too early for words, but inside her mind, they come loud and fast. Do you even remember what you said to me that night? Do you know how many birthdays you missed? Do you still think I was wrong to leave? She doesn't say them. She just watches his chest rise and fall. On the table beside his bed is a small, worn cassette recorder, a relic from another time. Next to it, a stack of tapes labeled in fading ink. 1983, Rachel's birthday. 1990, apology, never sent. Just in case. She stares at the tapes, then at him. He turns his head slowly, eyes meeting hers. Not fully, but enough. His lips move barely. Rach, L. It's not much, but it breaks something. She breathes in, shallow and sharp, like someone hearing their name in a dream. Yeah, Dad. I'm here. Outside, the snow keeps falling. Inside, the past begins to shift. Not forgiven yet, not even understood, but present. And sometimes, that's the beginning. The next morning, room 206 is filled with a dull gray light. The snowstorm has passed, but everything feels suspended, like the world is waiting for something to be said. Rachel stayed the night, in the chair. Her coat folded on her lap, eyes puffy from a restless sleep. She didn't dream. Or if she did, it was all static and breathing machines. Joseph is awake, not alert, but present in a way that feels heavier than before, like his body knows there's not much time left, and it's saving its strength for one last thing. The nurse, Miriam, returns. She brings tea and a soft voice. You stayed, she says, handing Rachel a paper cup. Rachel nods. He said my name. That's something, Miriam replies, smiling gently. Rachel watches her father, remembering how his hands once built engines from scratch, how his voice once filled every room like a storm and a shield. Now both are quieter, frailer. He used to record everything, Rachel says, almost to herself. Every birthday, every fight, even the silence. Miriam looks toward the tape recorder on the table. Maybe he was trying to leave something, in case words didn't make it out in time. Rachel nods. Her throat tightens. Later that afternoon, a young doctor enters. Dr. Lee. Kind, methodical, the kind of man who always knocks twice. He checks the vitals, looks at Joseph's chart, then glances at Rachel with quiet respect. He's stable, but he's tired. The body's closing a few doors to save power. He explains softly. What does he need? She asks. Dr. Lee hesitates. Presence. If there's anything unsaid, this might be the time to say it. Rachel turns back to her father. She studies his face, the faint scar above his eyebrow, the freckles that survived the decades, the jaw that once clenched at every goodbye. She speaks finely, but it comes out like confession and question all at once. Why didn't you come to my graduation? Joseph blinks. His mouth moves slowly, then silence again. Her voice rises just slightly, cracking beneath the weight. You sent a letter, a tape, but no one to hold my hand. You missed everything. The machines beep steadily. He doesn't answer. She stands, the emotion building. Years of absence condensed into minutes. You built engines, Dad. You fixed things, but you let me fall apart. A beat, then two. Joseph's eyes glisten. He looks at her, really looks, like he's seeing not just the woman she is, but the girl she used to be. His voice dry as paper. I was ashamed. Rachel blinks. Of what? Of the man I was, when you needed a father. The room goes quiet again, but this time it's not emptiness. It's a space where something sacred might begin. On the table, Rachel picks up one of the tapes. 1990, apology never sent. She looks at it for a long time, then slides it into the cassette player. Click. Joseph closes his eyes. Rachel presses play, and out comes his voice, younger, stronger, but trembling in ways she never heard before. Rachel, I don't know how to say this out loud. I was never good with words unless I could rewind them. The sound of his younger self speaking fills the room, echoing between past and present. A strange grace begins to settle over them. He was trying. Even when he was silent, he was trying. And now, she's listening. If this story is touching your heart, like the video, and save it to revisit later, when you need a moment of silence, or the courage to say what was left unsaid. And if there's someone you've drifted from, maybe now's the time to call. The cassette ends with a soft click. Silence. Rachel's eyes are wet, her hands still resting on the recorder like it's a heartbeat. Joseph hasn't moved much, but the tears on his face, slow, honest, unhidden, speak louder than any apology ever could. She leans forward, resting her forehead lightly against his. They stay like that for a long time. Later that evening, as the sky turns the color of bruised lilacs, Rachel opens the bag she brought. Inside, a small box wrapped in old newspaper. She unwraps it carefully, like she's afraid the moment might break. It's a photo, faded, from a summer decades ago. A much younger Joseph, shirtless and smiling, holding a tiny Rachel above a lake, both of them laughing, soaked in joy. She places it gently on the table beside the bed. This was the last day I remember you being happy, she whispers. His lips twitch, a fragile, tired smile. He speaks, almost inaudibly. I remember, the water was cold. But you kept laughing. Rachel laughs now too, through tears. I was trying to get you to jump in. You always did try to save me, he says. The heart monitor beeps slowly, a metronome of surrender. His breathing is shallower, not panicked, just ready. Rachel reaches for his hand, the one that used to hold wrenches and cigarettes, the one that stayed too far from hers for too long. She holds it now. "Hey, Dad!" He looks at her. "I forgive you." A long pause. "I still wish it had been different," she continues, voice cracking. "But I forgive you, and I think you did the best you could." Joseph nods, just barely, but his face softens, the weight lifts, even if just a little. "I'm proud of you," he says slowly. "I just didn't know how to say it, without feeling small." Rachel leans closer. "You didn't have to be big, you just had to be here." His fingers curl around hers, weak but certain. The light outside dims. Then, his voice, barely a breath, "Will you stay until the end?" Rachel doesn't answer with words. She just rests her head beside his, eyes closed, matching his breath, slowing hers to meet his rhythm. 2 pulses, 1 silence, and when his finally stops, it's not tragic. It's peaceful, because he didn't die alone, and she wasn't too late. 3 days later, the snow begins to melt. In a quiet cemetery just outside of town, Rachel stands alone beside a simple grave marked with her father's name. No fanfare, no ceremony, just her and the wind and the memory of everything that was finally spoken. In her hands, a small object, the cassette labeled "Just in Case." She hasn't listened to it yet, not because she's afraid of what it says, but because somehow she already knows. Back in her apartment, she does what her father never could. She sits at her desk, takes a blank tape, and begins to record her own voice. "Hi, Dad. It's me. I guess I just wanted you to know that I'm okay now, that you did matter, even when you were silent, even when you were far. I found pieces of you I never knew existed, in the old tapes, in the photo by the lake, in the way my hand looks just like yours when I hold a cup of tea, and I'm going to keep those pieces. Not to carry your weight, but to walk with what's left of your love." Later that week, she plants a tree in the backyard of her childhood home, now empty, but still full of echoes. An oak. She buries the tape beneath its roots, not to hide it, but to offer it, to the soil, to time, to whoever might listen. A month passes, then a season. Rachel volunteers at the hospital now. Room 206 has a new patient, a teenage girl, always drawing in her sketchbook. Rachel sits beside her once a week, no pressure, no speeches, just presence. And one afternoon, the girl asks, "Were you always this kind?" Rachel smiles quietly. "No. I had to unlearn silence first." In the end, Joseph's death didn't answer every question. It didn't erase the pain, but it opened a door. And through it, Rachel walked, not as someone who had finished grieving, but as someone who had chosen to begin again. There are wounds that time won't heal, not because they're too deep, but because they were never meant to disappear. They become part of us. Like the way certain songs make us ache, or how the smell of winter can still remind us of someone who's gone. But sometimes, what feels like the end of a story is really just the moment we begin to listen, to the tapes they left behind, to the spaces between their words, to the quiet places in ourselves where forgiveness waits patiently, like a child holding out their hand. Because love, real love, isn't loud. It doesn't always come on time. It doesn't always say the right things, but it stays. In voices, in trees, in rooms once filled with silence, and sometimes all we have to do is stay too. If this story touched your heart, like and share it with someone who needs to remember that it's never too late to begin again. And tell us in the comments what silence in your life still needs a voice. Subscribe to our channel and join us in honoring the stories that teach us how to stay, how to forgive, and how to live more fully before the final hour.